Hello interwebs and welcome to my channel. So for today's video, I want to share with you one of my favorite crossovers in all of Star Trek history. I think the best crossover with actual actors from Star Trek that ever happened in Star Trek that you probably have never even heard of or seen or even knew existed. And that is the absolutely fantastic audio drama Spock vs. Q, starring Leonard Nimoy himself, Spock himself, and John Delancey, Q. So yes, for those of you who don't know, this is a thing that actually happened. There is a production of Spock vs. Q that was actually done with these actors, and it's fan-frickin-tastic. So to give a little bit of history of what this is and how it came about, way back in, I believe, the 90s, when Simon & Schuster, which is the publisher of a lot of Star Trek audiobooks and Star Trek books, was doing a lot of like more Star Trek stuff at the time, they worked with Leonard Nimoy and John Delancey to create their own audio drama company where they would make science fiction audio dramas, and they created Alien Voices in order to do that, where they and a lot of other Star Trek cast members made these really awesome and very well done audio dramas of different famous touchstone science fiction books, mainly H.G. Wells stuff. They did First Man on the Moon, The War of the Worlds, and my personal favorite, the Time Machine. The Time Machine version done by Alien Voices, one of the scariest and best audio dramas I've ever done. The
sun was disappearing below the horizon. I was determined to reach the White Sphinx the next morning, but it was on the other side of the forest, as well as the other side of the night. When we paused from our walking, I felt that armed with matches and camphor, I could keep a torch blazing long enough to hold our own against the dwindling moon. For centuries, man had used oil-based camphor to light his caves. How ironic that we should need it to light the encroaching night. I don't know if you've ever thought what a rare thing flame must be to men who don't know how to control it. In an age when the art of fire-making had been forgotten on Earth, the red tongues that licked up from the torch were an altogether new and strange thing to Weena. She wanted to play with it. I believe she would have grabbed the flames if I'd not pulled her away. As we walked, at first I heard no sounds save the crackling twigs under our feet and the faint rustle of the breeze above. After a time, however, the torch died down, and I had to renew the camphor on its tip, and then I seemed to sense a presence about us.
They knocked that one out of the park, and you get a lot of, like I said, Star Trek actors: Leonard Nimoy, John Delancey, Andrew Robinson, who played Garrick, Ethan Phillips, who plays Neelix, Kate Mulgrew pops in a few of them as well, Gates McFadden, Brent Spiner. A lot of Star Trek actors appear in these audio dramas, and they are a ton of fun, and I cannot recommend them enough if you have not listened to them. But to capitalize on the fact that Leonard Nimoy and John Delancey were the ones in charge of this, they commissioned two audio dramas where Leonard Nimoy and John Delancey reprised their famous Star Trek characters and actually came to heads. And they are some of the funniest, and I should say they are comedies. They are comedic stories. They're meant to make you laugh. They're meant to joke. And I think that they are just one of the best Star Trek things I've ever seen, especially easily one of the best Star Trek crossovers. But they are just so much fun. The first audio drama, which is just titled Spock vs. Q, kind of basically revolves around the story is Spock has gone back in time to try to stop something. I won't spoil what, because there is a bit of a twist within the story itself. But he's gone back in time to early 20th century Earth to cause something to happen, to maybe inspire humanity a little bit, to try and say, oh, humanity needs to come together to overcome a certain crisis that may be coming. Sounds political nowadays when I put it that way, but it doesn't go that route. But he's sort of trying to inspire people at the time. But Q comes back and says, hey, you're breaking your prime directive rule by even being here. What's going on? And they have this wonderful argument that sort of showcases the two different personalities of the character, of Spock being this like logical guy and Q being this kind of Loki-esque, very impish kind of figure. And they go to loggerheads, and it's all very much, even though it's very comedic, very funny, there's a lot of really great jokes within it that I'll show a clip of here.
I was just thinking, what would he be like in person? Would he be gruff and pedantic, or urbane and glib?
Sir, allow me to inform you that I'm occupied in a matter of some urgency here, and you are interrupting.
Gruff and pedantic, my first choice. I know I'm interrupting, and you'll thank me for it later. My, Look at this, a microphone. How quaint. Can you all hear me? I'm from the Continuum, and I'm just dying to meet the legendary Spock. Can I have an autograph?
Autographs have proven to be of great value. Not just informationally, but associatively, throwing light on the original intentions and methods of the author.
Your point?
Recognition of the importance of autographs dates back to the earliest known example. A scroll signed by El Cid dated 1096. Now, of course, the practice of collecting such signatures is widespread.
Look, I just want your autograph, Spock. I mean, what are you desperately trying to say?
There's a sizable demand. You'll have to join the end of the line.
It's so good to meet someone with ego strength.
Yeah, there's some, it's just really, really funny. But it all kind of ties around this wonderful, wonderful idea of, should we be cynical about where humanity is heading, or should we be inspired about where humanity is heading? And the two characters sort of representing the different sides of that. And they kind of get into this, like, you know, logic game, kind of very much reminded me of the riddle events between Bilbo and Gollum in The Hobbit. They kind of redo that here between Spock and Q, and it's just a lot of fun and very, very funny. But it all centers around that philosophical idea. I think the only bad thing about this episode is they talk a lot about very pressing issues of when this came out back in the 2000s, and sadly some of it is still very prescient, like things like climate change and stuff like that. They do sort of bring that up, but it's sort of couched in kind of very specific jokes of the time, which is like, they talk about the ozone layer and things like that, and SUVs and like the problems of overusing SUVs, conversations that we've kind of moved past a little bit, hopefully, but still the overarching idea of climate change and issues of climate change is very much a very prescient idea still to this day, unfortunately. And so there is a little bit of datedness to these audio dramas, but on the whole, I think they work brilliantly. And Leonard Nimoy and Q, or John Delancey, do an absolutely fantastic job staying in character, but also making it incredibly, incredibly funny. I laugh all the time listening to this audio drama. I listen to it fairly regularly, to be honest with you. But one of the even better parts of this is there's a sequel to that audio drama called Spock vs. Q, the sequel. Incredibly creative name. And again, I won't spoil too much of the plot. There's not a ton of plot to it, but there are a few twists and turns here and there that are kind of fun. But to give you the basic pitch for the Spock vs. Q, the sequel, is because of some mystical, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff going on, Leonard Nimoy, or Spock's and Q's personalities switch. So we get to have Leonard Nimoy playing a version of Spock who is over-the-top emotional and crazy and kind of manic in many ways, and Q kind of having to be this, like, he, like, has to play this, like, kind of cold, logical version of himself. So it's John Delancey playing Q, playing Spock, and Leonard Nimoy playing Spock, playing Q. And it's just so much fun to see these actors spread their legs, but also kind of in, like, through a filter of a character that we've known for so long, and kind of them being confused and kind of worried and scared.
We are standing on an asteroid headed with due diligence towards Earth. Does that ring any bells?
Oh, the thrill of it all.
Tell me, not that it matters,
But when do you suppose we might expect the encounter?
the encounter.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Very soon.
Within the hour?
Less, more like half an hour.
Good, really. I'm glad I didn't overpack.
At the speed we are traveling, accounting for gravitational deviation, although I do not know the critical variation of density, we should encounter Earth in 34.54 minutes. Did I just say that?
Say it like it is, bro. We're gonna crash. We're gonna go bump in the night big time.
Spock, you are starting to sound like... No, that is illogical.
It's just a really, really fun time, and it's just great to sort of see these actors get to break out of their cages a little bit with these characters in a way that they never got to do too much on their respective shows. It's just a ton of fun in that audio drama, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's really hard for me to over-explain these audio dramas just because a lot of it is just based in comedy and character interaction. So it's just a ton of fun, and if I overtalk it, it will unfortunately kind of kill the fun of them. So I just wanted to do this video to draw your attention to those audio dramas if you haven't heard of them, because they are just so much fun. They are absolutely fantastic. They're some of my favorite Star Trek things ever. And I just wanted to share with you a little bit of my joy and love of these weird nooks and crannies of the Star Trek universe that some people may not have even been aware even existed. So I hope you listen to those. Again, I would also highly recommend all of Alien Voices audio dramas. It was kind of sad. They didn't do a ton of them. There's like 5 or 6 of them, all of which are insanely good, and I recommend every single one of them. But unfortunately, they didn't sell super well, so Simon & Schuster kind of closed them down. So, you know, I highly recommend you check them out, because they are just lost gems that I think should deservedly be resurrected and talked about. And maybe I'll do other videos talking about these specific audio dramas, because I think they are deserving of recognition for how well done and well crafted they were. I like I said, The Time Machine is one of my favorite audio dramas ever, and to this day, I still can't listen to it in the dark, because there's a couple scenes in that audio drama that just scare the ever-loving crap out of me, and I think Leonard Nimoy does a wonderful job in that story. Anyways, enough gushing about weird, niche, geeky, nerdy things that no one's going to care about. I'm so glad that you followed me and took the time to listen and watch this episode, and I hope I gave you something new that you may not have encountered before and can find some joy in. Don't forget to comment. Let me know if you listened to these audio dramas before, if you like them. I'd really love to know. I've never had a conversation with anyone about these audio dramas, so if anyone's actually listened to them, please, let's talk about it, because I've never gotten a chance to. I would be so excited about that. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more recommendations of weird niche corners of the geek world if you want that. I also have a Patreon where you can help support what I do here. But beyond all of that, I hope that you, as always, live long and prosper. Thank you to all of my patrons this month, but especially Amanda Ronye Idanya, Catherine Lambeth, Ashley Ellen Bokikio, Miranda Janelle, Eli Bergmoss, Ashlyn Solstice, Michael D., Greg Gillum, Stephen Kleinard, Ulysses the Pagan, Randy Thompson, Munir Amlani, Chamomile Tea, Stephen Schuhart, Wellington Marcus, Boyd and Mary Beth Earl, Wayne Twitchell, Ish the Mad, Buttoneer, Roar, Christina Dalliance, Dominic Noble, John Steele, Michael Beam. She sells seashells by the seashore of Bajor. William Stewart, Gavin Robinson, The Sir Spence, BBD, Hannah F., Nathan Olson, Jason Knott, Andrew Jorgensen, Chris Brown, Jasmine, Maeve, Bree Beecher, Subraxis, Skylar Gray, Nathan Steele, Jane Packard and Chloe Dollar, Wen Dizzle Bizzle, Gretchen Badger, Geek Filter, Bush, Celestial Dawn, Din, Sarah Bastam, Polly Mina, Jacob Tovar, Piston Twisted Garage, Lily, Jean Mithun, Andrew Lamori, Lysa, Zone 1 Librarian, Michael Hardy, Corey Honkanen, and KT Dunn. Thank you so much to all of you. You're quite literally making my dreams come true, so I cannot tell you how thankful I am.